Good morning. You were live in the CNN newsroom. I'm Jim Acosta in Washington. We begin with what the Trump campaign is calling the interview of the century. Last night, the former president sat down for a rambling 2-hour conversation with the world's richest man, Elon Musk. It got off to a rocky start, beginning more than 40 minutes late, due in part to what Musk described as an alleged cyber attack, although others dispute that. This riveting elevator music kept listeners on the edge of their seats, though, and Trump spent much of the conversation, once it got going, fixating on a man he is no longer running against before finally shifting to his new opponent, attacking Kamala Harris's intelligence and gushing over her physical appearance.
Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't because she's not smart. You know, she's not a smart person, by the way. But she's getting a free ride. I saw a picture of her on Time magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla, that's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman, so we'll leave it at that, right?
We'll fact check that in a moment, but Trump mainly focused not on his Democratic rival, but the familiar go-to grievances and lies often heard in his stump speeches.
All the courts do is they try and focus on Trump. Okay, they live focused on Trump, who did nothing wrong. I complain about a rigged election. The only one that gets prosecuted is Donald Trump. They prosecute Trump. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in some cases, corrupt judges, totally corrupt judges. I didn't need it. I had a nice life.
They called it an interview, but Musk did not push back on those lies about the 2020 election or the justice system. In fact, he didn't push back on any of Trump's estimated 20 false claims. He did, however, heap praise on the former president. That infatuation was clearly mutual.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it.
Joining me now to break it all down, CNN's Kristen Holmes. Kristen, you have some new reporting on how the campaign is feeling this morning. How do they think it went? I mean, obviously there were moments like that one that we just played there where he's talking about Elon Musk firing people. I can't imagine that's going to work out too well in those blue wall states. I have to think some of the advisors are tearing their hair out right now.
Well, look, you have different groups of people, right? You have the campaign and his advisors, the people who are hyping him up, saying things like, this was the greatest interview of all time, or I think you said one of the quotes was the best interview of the century. You know, you have Elon Musk out there saying 1 billion people engaged with this interview in some way. I mean, I believe, I was talking to Steve Contorno, one of our colleagues earlier, and he said, does that mean even babies were involved in checking into what was happening on Twitter last night? But they are touting those viewership numbers. They are saying that this is all part of a larger strategy. That essentially they are trying to reach people who don't normally engage in politics and doing that through interviews with Elon Musk. They're not necessarily looking for the Twitter crowd, they're looking for the Elon Musk crowd. It's the same idea of when he sat down with streamer Aiden Ross. They're not necessarily looking for just streamers, they're particularly looking for followers of Aiden Ross who watch his show, who they believe are people who would lean right, not traditional voters that they want to bring out to the polls. Now, if you talk to any of Trump's allies, well, not any of them, but some of them, they are very concerned. They do not want Trump out there doing these kind of long, unscripted interviews. They believe that he can still win this race against Kamala Harris, despite what you're seeing in the polls. They don't think this is over. They believe he still has a shot at the White House. But to do that, what they say over and over again is Donald Trump has to stay on message. He has to focus on the economy. He has to focus on immigration. He has to focus on crime. Those are the things that he pulled above Joe Biden on, and those are the policies they want to link Kamala Harris to and the current administration to. However, Donald Trump seems to have different ideas of what works and what doesn't work, and obviously, as we're seeing, part of what he thinks works is doing these long, conversational, off-script and off-topic interviews.
A kind of a bathrobe campaign he's been utilizing lately. Not so many rallies, more unscripted things where he can sort of roll out of Marlargo and do whatever he wants. All right, Kristen Holmes, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Trump and Musk agreed on practically everything in their 2-hour conversation on X. The world's richest man gave the former president a platform to say whatever he wanted without any pushback. And not surprisingly, Trump made plenty of false claims, at least 20. Most have been debunked repeatedly, some for years. CNN's Daniel Dale joins us now with a fact check And Daniel, as I like to say to folks, Daniel, you know Trump's lies better than maybe Trump does. You cataloged them for years. You know them all too well, and we heard a lot of them repeated last night.
We did. This was the same stuff I've been dealing with, some of them for 5+ years, been fact-checked dozens of times, but he keeps saying them, as we know.
Yeah, let's listen to this one bite about crime. Let's listen to that.
Their crime rate's coming down, and our crime rate's going through the roof, and it's so simple. And you haven't seen anything yet, because these people have come into our country, and they're just getting acclimated.
But what, I mean, we know, I mean, generally speaking, crime is down across the country.
Crime is down, Jim. Yeah. This claim is not only not true, it's the opposite of reality. Crime has been falling for 1.5 years plus. Violent crime and murder significantly. We had a 6% decline in violent crime in 2023. It was a 15% decline in the first quarter of 2021. Even starker declines in murder, 13% in 2023, 26% in the first quarter of 2024. So these are preliminary figures. That the precise numbers might change when we get the final numbers, but there is no doubt about the direction. Crime is certainly going down, and it is now lower, violent crime and murder, than they were in 2020 under President Trump.
Yeah, and Christian was talking about how the campaign wants to appeal to younger voters. Well, younger voters are concerned about climate change, and Trump had some thoughts on that. Let's listen.
You know, the biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not that. The biggest threat is nuclear warming, because we have 5 countries now that have significant nuclear power.
What'd you make of that?
So this Trump says a lot of wrong things, Jim. This claim about the extent of sea level rise with global warming is one of the very wrongest. So Trump keeps saying sea levels are going to rise 1/8 of an inch in 200, 300, 400. Once he said 497 years. It is actually more than 1/8 of an inch now per year. So more per year than he says is going to happen in 4 centuries. According to NASA figures, it's about 1/6 of an inch per year, 0.17 inches per year today. Over 300, 400 years, we're talking about feet. And if we want to bring this point home for former President Trump, it is especially fast in Florida. We have a tide gauge right near Marlargo, and that data shows that sea levels right there are rising about 1/8 of an inch every 9 months. So he says every 400 years, it's every 9 months. And I'll add, he keeps making this joke, oh, the sea level rise is going to give people more oceanfront property. Yes, it's a joke, but it's a ridiculous joke. We're talking about communities becoming uninhabitable, people losing their homes, infrastructure damage, more flooding, more destructive hurricanes. This is bad stuff. It's not really a laughing matter.
Yeah, all he has to do to fact check this is to walk out his front door at Mar-a-Lago. He can see the sea levels rise right in front of his eyes. Daniel Dale, thanks a lot. Appreciate it very much. Let's discuss with CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist Maria Cardona and Republican strategist